All right, everybody, how's it going? By the time you see this video, it'll probably be out of date because things are happening fast. The draft ended less than half an hour ago for me, and stuff is already going down. So before I get into the players that I want the Seahawks to look at in UDFA, I got to talk about the players they have already picked up in UDFA. So, as far as I know, as of this recording, there are three UDFAs the Seahawks have signed. And Jared Stanger is covering this on Twitter. He reported it, and he'll continue to report the other UDFAs. So, for those of you who are new, by the way, UDFA stands for Undrafted Rookie Free Agent. It's basically a player who did not get drafted but wanted to get drafted and can now be signed by any team. So, all right. So Jared Stanger, he's doing a pretty good job of covering players of interest for the Seahawks. He has three updates. This first one is a W and a half. W. Tamorrion Terry to the Seahawks. Hello. Oh yes. I had several people in my streams over the last couple days, over the last couple weeks, really, maybe even months, say they wanted Seattle to draft Tamorrion Terry. We got him in UDFA. So big W right there. Tamorrion Terry to the Seahawks. Offensive lineman Jared Hocker was signed by the Seahawks a handful of minutes ago. Apparently, he's a guard. So we're trying to improve our depth there a little bit, which is completely reasonable and fine. So Jared Hocker to Seattle. And the third and final guy who I know of as of right now is cornerback Bryan Mills. So those are the three UDFAs we have right now. Okay. So my thoughts on those two are I don't really know anything about them, but you can't go wrong with the UDFA because their contracts are non guaranteed. And most of them are probably only going to be there for training camp and preseason. But there is value in trying to bring those guys in and seeing if you can get lucky. And there were a lot of guys who slipped through the draft process that I would love to bring in. So let's talk about some of the guys who I want the Seahawks to take a look at in UDFA and consider bringing in. There are a lot of them. And before you look at this list I'm about to show you and say, oh, we're not going to get all those guys, it's too many people, remember, rosters in the preseason are huge. And then there's a big cut down after the preseason. So remember that. Okay. Here are my list of UDFA targets for the Seattle Seahawks as of right now. Quarterback, only one. We have Jamie Newman. He's very interesting. I don't think he played football last year. If he did, he probably would have been a top 100 pick. But he didn't play football last year. I thought he was going to be like a fourth or fifth round pick. He went undrafted. If you can get Jamie Newman, then maybe you can move on from Alex Magoo because we've had Alex Magoo for a few years. I like him, but maybe Jamie Newman can be the new young developmental QB prospect for the Seahawks. Running back Puka Williams. All the other running backs I liked got picked, but Puka Williams was very productive in college. He's a good pass catcher. He had over 200 yards receiving last year, I think. It sounds like he's a good blocker as well. So if you could get in Puka Williams, he has a chance to be your third down back. Wide receivers. TJ Vasher is my number one right now. Obviously, Terry Tamorrion's already picked up, so we can get him out of here. But TJ Vasher, 6'6", runs a sub 4.540. He's a complete athletic freak, makes circus catches like Randy Moss. His issues are off the field and focus and want to, basically. Other receivers would be Josh Imitor Behebi. He went undrafted somehow. Somebody taught me how to pronounce his name, but I can't remember it right now. Austin Watkins, Sage Surratt, Rico Busey Jr., Marlon Williams, Damon Hazelton, and Trevon Grimes. Those would be the receivers I would look at. Tight end, Nick Eubanks. I wanted Nick Eubanks in the 5th round. He went undrafted somehow. I think that dude has a chance to be a dynamic NFL playmaker. And if you get him, he has a chance to be better than Will Dissly day one. He could be your tight end 2 day one. Tight end 2s get on the field a good amount. So you could get yourself a partial starter in UDFA if you got Nick Eubanks, I think. Other tight ends include Kerry Angeline, Kenny Yaboa, who fell a lot further than I expected, Matt Bushman, and Tony Poljan. All right. Offensive linemen. Offensive tackle specifically, we have Alaric Jackson Jr. I'm going to hit you with this. Supposedly, Alaric Jackson Jr. was supposed to be a draft pick in this draft. He was expected to be chosen in the fifth round, sixth round latest, but then he went vegan and his draft stock plummeted. And he has since left veganism and has gained 15 pounds. And it seemed like nobody noticed. So Alaric Jackson might be a draft caliber tackle who, by some crazy fluke, has gone undrafted. So if we could jump on that, I would really appreciate it. Alaric Jackson could be somebody who's ready to play year one, unlike maybe Stone Forsyth. Also, Adrian Ealy and Drew Himmelman. Center, I only see two centers really worth going after in UDFA. Drake Jackson from Kentucky. I'm not sure if he fits, but I think he's good. I like the value. If he can fit even partially, I would not be surprised for him to push Kyle Fuller as the backup center and maybe even make a run at Ethan Posick for starting. And Ryan McCollum from Texas A&M. Okay, so those are the offensive UDFAs I like. Let's go to the defense. We have Marvin Wilson at defensive tackle. He's clearly talented enough to be drafted and drafted relatively high, but off the field stuff and some. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. He's clearly talented enough to go high enough in the draft to make some decent money and be a credible prospect, but it just didn't happen for him because of some off the field issues and some concerns about injuries, I think. So Marvin Wilson has a chance to be a steal if he can get it together. He's absolutely a third round pick if he didn't have his non football issues. And then you have Naquan Jones, who was a guy I scouted. Linebacker, and this might be the juiciest one of all, Dylan Moses. I don't know how this dude went undrafted. I know he's got injury concerns, but I expected this guy to maybe go in the second round, at least the third. I was shocked. He just kept falling and falling and falling and falling, and now here we are. He's sitting there in UDFA, and Pete Carroll, I don't know if you guys saw this, in his press conference, basically said, we want competition in the form of young players at the linebacker spot. I almost feel like he was speaking to guys like Dylan Moses, like, hey, come here, there's a roster spot for you maybe. So Dylan Moses would be an incredible value in UDFA. Also, Justin Hilliard, Amen Ogbongbemiga, Riley Cole, Anjuwan Simmons. Cornerback, Trill Williams, probably my favorite. He's very Seahawky, although that doesn't necessarily mean what it used to. Clearly, we drafted Trey Brown. So Trill Williams would be my number one. He's got the size. He's got the wingspan. He played very well in college. He's probably my favorite. Elijah Griffin, Mark Gilbert, Antonio Phillips, and DJ Daniel would round it out. And finally, a safety, Ardarius Washington, a dude who Yahoo expected to go in like the fourth round, and he just kept falling, and somehow still here he is. I actually scouted Ardarius Washington, and I said I liked him, but I also said I didn't want to use a draft pick on him because we couldn't afford it. Well, now he's in UDFA. Now you can go get him and maybe have him be the backup safety this season if you'd rather play Demarius Randall at corner. So those are the UDFAs who I like. It's a combination of guys I scouted who didn't get drafted and guys who people who talk to me and have my ear on this kind of stuff liked. So let me know who you like. By the time you see this, we will have probably signed a few more people. This stuff happens so. I don't know who we have as of your watching of this video, but we got off to a great start with Tamorrion Terry. Let's see what happens next. All right, I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Go Hawks.